Over the 20-year history of the Battlefield franchise, there have been many great maps worthy of praise. Some maps become legendary, icons themselves of the Battlefield series and worth remembering for their balance, uniqueness, and special gameplay. This is the story of the best maps of Battlefield. The city maps of Battlefield 2 remain an indisputable force to be reckoned with. Strike at Karkand, Sharkey Peninsula, Moshchur City, Warlord, and our topic of the day, Road to Jalalabad. Another Battlefield 2 product of impeccable and unique design, Jalalabad has been held in high esteem by the community for decades. A conquest assault map which combines open plains catering to vehicle tank battles and an urban cityscape conducive to close-quarters infantry action, there is much to admire about the concept. Released as free content along with patch 1.41, Jalalabad comes in three forms for 16, 32, and 64 players, typical for almost all Battlefield 2 multiplayer levels. The Prime variant, 64, is the most famous of all. Here, the USMC staging ground is an uncapturable main base on the extreme left of the map and found alongside the main road which enters the city. Containing the entirety of the US Commander assets, it is very defendable, comprising of 3 stationary M249 LMGs, 3 tow emplacements, and provides the team with 4 DPVs, 4 Humvees, and 2 Abrams tanks. All of these vehicles are critical for the US breakout into Jalalabad. But first, there is something special we need to look at. The first 2 flags on the map are found down different paths. Following a slight downhill slope from the US staging area along the main road, the Outpost objective is pre-captured for the defending mech team. Meanwhile, to the north, the tiny lake flag lies neutral. This is the only neutral flag as all others begin under mech control. The lake between these points divides the initial fighting, but it doesn't constrict the playable space enough to prevent vehicle movement or breakthroughs. The Outpost flag is a large, well-fortified objective, while the lake has minimal cover, save for a tiny destroyed ruin and 3 large boulders. Here, a shallow river crossing is the only way across into the city, creating a bottleneck, but provides a forward position for the controlling team. While it might seem like common sense for the US team to barrel down the small lakeside dirt road and into the city, the terrain is very exposed, and the entrance through the walls is another choke point. Additionally, substantial numbers of mech players spawn at the junkyard flag nearby, ready to preemptively head off any infantry or armor trying to cross the water. This comes as a natural priority as they try to battle it out over control of the lake. Despite the early US armor advantage, a quick start by knowledgeable mech players at the Outpost flag usually sees a plentiful number of landmines thrown down, and instantly halts the attack. Infantry which spawn at the point can use the watchtowers, stationary tow, and enclosing sandbags to fire at approaching infantry or hurl rockets at rushing cars. What results is usually a quick dash for the US team toward both flags, with the armor heading to the Outpost, while the fast DPVs try to bolt across the river into the city. Given how defendable the Outpost is compared to the lake, even if the US team is met with a grind there, an easier alternative is available which moves the battle forward. Then, depending on where the player resources are deployed, this two-front battle gives the US team a better chance to break into the city. The Outpost objective, strong as it may be, is not without weaknesses. The boundaries here are wide enough for jeeps to fly past, and spawn points within the enclosure are extremely vulnerable. If captured by the US, this point will provide an additional Humvee and Abrams tank. As the battle progresses down the main road, the next 2 objectives are the Fountain and the Junkyard. The Fountain objective is a cluttered space littered with small shacks. At its center, a circular fountain marks the objective, aesthetically out of place as it may be. The point is one of the best for infantry as hiding spaces are numerous and spawn points are largely protected. Cat and mouse fights around the buildings are common, and tanks have difficulty attacking or traveling past due to the amount of cover, as well as the choke point on the road caused by the adjacent junkyard environment. The junkyard is where the city of Jalalabad begins in earnest. It is an expansive area of the map enclosed by a metal fence and 2 large office buildings, the latter of which can be passed through using a small hallway in each. The area has one main entrance along with multiple boxes nearby, allowing players to hop over the fence, and provides multiple ways to access the area. Wooden crates, mobile offices, and several large dumpsters are the primary protection options, though the small flag radius is mostly exposed next to the largest building. Interestingly, this small capture radius extends just barely within the interior hall and onto the rooftop ledge, creating intense battles for the safest capture locations. Though spread out, there are 2 main gateways into the city, these being the main road along the south past the fountain, and the main ramp past the wall into the city streets. A third option, somewhat hidden, is 2 sets of staircases behind the junkyard. The city of Jalalabad proper is one of the most densely packed urban environments in Battlefield 2, even surpassing Strike at Karkand. The streets and alleys weave between buildings which have minimal interior access. A number of rooftops can be scaled by ladders, though these strong temporary positions hardly affect gameplay balance. Since in Battlefield 2 squads can only spawn on squad leaders, and ammo is severely limited in the first place, there is far less of an incentive to climb up, even to the largest building, the hotel on the southeast. This massive structure has seen better days, as evidenced by the burning hole where a fighter jet appears to have crashed. Its ground floor entrance is nonetheless the setting for the hotel objective. Brick walls surround the building with a flagpole and a small capture zone just out front. A stationary tow turret sits alongside. The streets out front are devoid of cover, while the adjacent apartment and archway are rooftop accessible, making it a dangerous point to approach. The main road, which enters the city from the south, curves north behind the hotel and offers a few spots for vehicles to take advantage of players' rotating positions. As the fight presses north, the next objective is the market. Players could either fight their way through the city from the hotel or push into the northern gate just above the junkyard. The market is a dense flag centered around another fountain. Food stalls surround the landmark for great cover. Sightlines over the capture radius are pretty substantial. Garages to the south and west have ladders for a quick angle. Most impactfully, the market marks the greatest elevation change of the map. A wall several meters high behind the point shows the incline, with a set of stairs granting access to the street above. Players positioned here have the best sightline and advantage over players on the flag. Along this high wall, pathing options north are now limited to the market staircase, another small staircase further east behind a building, and the main road, which is now looped all the way from the US deployment. The reason for this restricted pathing is for a stronger defense of the map's final objective, the mosque, which serves as the mech team main deployment. Before even reaching the point, the area is surrounded by high-rise apartment buildings, some of which have fire escapes for roof access. The streets behind them, from the stairs to the mosque courtyard, feature intense close-quarter fighting, as this flag is critical. 2 T-90 tanks, the only armor available to the mech team, are provided here, and losing the flag removes these assets, though new armor will not spawn under US control. Capturing this flag is no easy task. A set of high brick walls surround the building, mounted LMGs sit watching the entrances, the flag radius is very small, and the capture rate takes twice as long as a normal objective. Other than the rooftops of the surrounding buildings, the only weakness in the defenses here is a breach in the wall behind the mosque, providing the best chance to attack the point and destroy the nearby commander assets. Jalalabad's other map sizes are for 32 and 16 players. Perhaps owing to the map's incredible urban design, the 32-player size was almost identical to the 64-player size. The only difference was the removal of the lake objective. With fewer players, it really isn't necessary to hold the battle line there anyway, and it allows the fighting to progress to the city flags faster. The 16-player size is appropriately reduced in scale, consisting of only 4 flags: the junkyard, mosque, hotel, and market. This version of the map was excellent for the player count, and notably provided one of the greatest and most balanced competitive 8v8 maps in the game. Used in leagues since its release, Jalalabad remains one of the best maps to decide matches between teams. A few other factors make the map stand out from many other city maps of the game. In addition to a handful of clunky Vodniks and Humvees, Jalalabad is the only Battlefield 2 urban map to feature the small, nimble FAV and DPV light transports, and they are numerous. Combined with how narrow and short most roads in Jalalabad are, C4 cars become a major hazard for tanks, and even the best tankers will fall victim to an explosive-laden car here and there. In the confines of Battlefield 2, this creates a unique bond between the tankers and their commander. Strong tank players almost expect the commander to focus a lot on helping them spot C4 cars early, and most of them will pay very close attention to the constant spotting spam. This relationship consequently makes the often boring and slow commander gameplay a lot more impactful and fast-paced. Tracking the many C4 cars requires constant vigilance, quick movement, and tankers will directly feel how good of a job the commander is doing. The position of the defending mech team's artillery assets is also notable. Usually placed together near a main deployment, the 3 artillery pieces are scattered throughout the city. With the first one placed at the Outpost flag, the US team can limit mech artillery effectiveness early on. The second gun is placed at the hotel flag, and the last one is placed just outside the walls of the mosque. This helps the US team push further and further into the city by gradually getting the upper hand when it comes to artillery, becoming more and more relevant with defending players piling up and getting pushed back into the city. Road to Jalalabad is simply one of the most fast-paced, unique, and fierce levels of Battlefield 2. Tanks could be dominant and yet vulnerable based on the area they were engaging, or eliminated by the smart counter-positioning of enemy infantry. Infantry could utilize a multitude of streets and alleys, avoiding the frustration of constant bottlenecks and claymores, and temporarily gain rooftop advantages which were not overbearing. It is a layout which foments little downtime, strategic planning, and opportunity for every class to maximize its effectiveness. It is a rare example of a map where an open, sightline-filled environment is combined with a dense setting, thereby facilitating an initially slow, tough tactical advance, which is then rewarded by a chaotic street-to-street fight to prove one's worth in one of the best urban environments put together in the refractor engine age.